You can be turning your Bibles to Proverbs chapter 31. Proverbs 31. We'll get there in just a moment. I'd like for you to picture this with me. There's a 10-year-old boy sitting in his fourth grade classroom just before lunch. He looks into the doorway of the classroom and he sees his aunt standing in the doorway. His aunt calls to the teacher. She comes over and they have a conversation together. Then the young boy's teacher comes to the young boy and tells him to go ahead and pack all of his things because he's going to be going home. So the young boy gathers all his things and he walks to the door to meet his aunt. He has no idea as to the reason why he's going home. As they begin to walk down the long hallway, he sees his two older brothers standing with his other aunt in front of the principal's office. And as they get there to the office, they greet one another. And then they begin to slowly walk outside to the car. And as he gets outside, he looks and sees how incredibly beautiful the day is. The sun is shining. The wind is blowing through the trees. It is the most perfect day. But he still has no idea as to why he's going home. They get into the car and they begin driving down the road. And there is complete silence in the car. All you can hear are the tires on the car rolling across the asphalt. Then the young boy, he looks at the reflection of his aunt's face in the rearview mirror. And as he sees her face, he sees tears streaming down her face. And the young boy says, "Mom died, didn't she?" That 10-year-old boy was me. Almost 37 years ago, my mom passed away. I tell you that story because I realize that this day is not always an easy day for many of you. For various reasons, this may be a challenging day for you. This day is often challenging for me. And I've got three quick qualities that I want to talk about a mother that I hope will help encourage you. Because on Mother's Day, the way I get through it is I constantly remember those precious times that I had with my mom. That helps me to get through this day. So these three qualities that I want to give you hopefully will help encourage you to be able to enjoy this day. The first quality is this, and this is a quality that I see not just in moms, but in women in general, and that is her hands work hard. Her hands work hard. In Proverbs 31, we'll start in verse 10. It says, "A wife of noble character who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. She selects wool and flax and works with eager hands. She is like the merchant ships bringing her food from afar. She gets up while it is still dark. She provides food for her family and portions for her servant girls. She considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her tasks. She sees that her trading is profitable and her lamp does not go out at night. In her hand, she holds the distaff and grasps the spindle with her fingers. She opens her arms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy. When it snows, she has no fear for her household, for all of them are clothed in scarlet. She makes coverings for her bed. She is clothed in fine linen and purple. Her husband is respected at the city gate, where he takes his seat among the elders of the land. She makes linen garments and sells them, and supplies the merchants with sashes. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive, and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. You know, this is not an unfamiliar passage to many of us, but one of the things we may not know is that this passage is an acrostic poem. The 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet are in sequence, and they begin the first word of each verse from 10 through 31. See, this poem sings the praises of a good wife. It acclaims the honor and dignity of women. And it emphasizes the importance of a woman in a home. You see, in verse 30, we get an understanding of the key to a woman's noble character. And that is, she fears the Lord. You see, this poem also helps us to understand that mothers do all kinds of work. And their physical beauty is emphasized just as being something temporary, in contrast to the eternal value of a godly character. I love this passage because it helps us to understand women and moms and who they are and how they need to be praised. I read this story that I want to share with you that maybe make you laugh. So the man came home from work one afternoon and found his 3 small children outside, still in their pajamas, playing in the mud. Some of their toys were scattered across the lawn and on the driveway. The door of his wife's car was wide open, and so was the front door of their house. Surprised at this, he rushed inside and was confronted with evidence of complete disarray. A lamp had been knocked over, the TV was loudly blaring on a cartoon channel, and the family room was littered with toys and children's clothing. He went into the kitchen. The sink was filled with dirty dishes. Breakfast food had been spilled on the counter. The refrigerator door was open, and dog food was scattered all over the floor. Very concerned now, and fearing the worst, he frantically began looking for his wife, heading up the stairs, stepping over toys and more piles of clothes as he went. He was worried she might be ill or that something serious had happened to her. Rushing into their bedroom, he saw her. Still in her pajamas, she lay there, curled up on their bed, reading a novel. She looked up, smiled at him, and asked him how his day had been. Completely bewildered, he looked at her and asked, "What happened here today?" Again, she smiled and then answered, "You know, every day when you come home from work, you ask me what in the world I do all day long?" "Yes," he said. She answered, "Well, today, I didn't do it." Women work hard, and our moms work very hard. You know, I actually think about my own wife. She just finished up her 2nd degree while working full-time as a special education teacher, while taking care of 2 boys and a 3rd boy, me, who are a handful. But she never missed church. She never failed to spend time with God. She never failed to make sure that we were taken care of at home. She helps me with the Durham Chapel Hill region, with the women there. So many things that she did while in school, getting her second degree. For all the women here, for all the moms here, thank you. For all the hard work that you do outside the home and inside the home that goes far too unappreciated. Thank you. The second quality of a mom is her mouth speaks with wisdom. Her mouth speaks with wisdom. In Proverbs chapter 1, verses 8 and 9, it says, "Listen, my son, to your father's instruction, and do not forsake your mother's teaching. They are a garland to grace your head and a chain to adorn your neck." And then in Proverbs 31, verse 26, it says, "She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue." You know, there's so many things that our moms have taught us that are invaluable if we choose to listen and follow those instructions. That latter part is what's most important, is that we've got to listen and that we've got to follow those instructions. You know, when we think about Proverbs 31, it's interesting that many times as it's taught and it's brought up, you hear people speaking about verses 10 through 31 about the wife of noble character. But this proverb actually starts in verse 1. And it starts with a mom giving instructions to her son, who just so happens to be a king. So let's look at verse 1 of Proverbs 31, and let's see what this mom taught her son. It says, "The sayings of King Lemuel, an oracle his mother taught him. O my son, O son of my womb, O son of my vows, do not spend your strength on women, your vigor on those who ruin kings. It is not for kings, O Lemuel, not for kings to drink wine, not for rulers to crave beer, lest they drink and forget what the law decrees, and deprive all the oppressed of their rights. Give beer to those who are perishing, wine to those who are in anguish. Let them drink and forget their poverty and remember their misery no more. Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly. Defend the rights of the poor and needy." You see, King Lemuel's mom taught him some very, very important things. Not just things for him to be able to understand and follow, but things for us men today to be able to understand and follow. You know, how it would have sounded in my house, if I gotten these instructions, it would have sounded like this. "Boy, you better watch yourself and don't be hanging around these questionable women. Boy, you better make sure you marry and you date very well, the right person. Be careful about that." It would have also been, you know, that wine and that beer that all these people around you are drinking. You don't need to be messing around with too much of that, because you're going to forget what's right and you're going to remember all the wrong and start doing the wrong. Last thing, son, I want you to understand. For those who can't speak for themselves, you need to speak up for them. For those who are needy, for those who are poor, you need to help them. You see, this mom told her son, who was a king, he was in a position to do some great things for people. And she gave him some great teaching. Now, I know that many of you and me as well, when we grew up, our moms told us a lot of different things. And now, moms have an interesting way of getting their point across. They may not be as direct as King Lemuel's mom was. You see, it might have sounded like this in some of the teachings that they gave you, because they probably taught you how to appreciate a job well done. And when they taught you that, it might have sounded like this. This is what your mom might have said. "If you're going to kill each other, do it outside, because I just finished cleaning this house." You know, your mom might have even taught you a little bit about religion, but it may have sounded like this. "You better pray that that stain will come out of this carpet." She might even taught you about stamina when you were real small. You know, you're going to sit at that table until that spinach is all gone. And I'm sure all of us have probably been told this by our mom. This room of yours looks like a tornado went through it. That's how we learned about the weather. There was a London editor who submitted to Winston Churchill an approval list for all the teachers in his life. When Winston Churchill got the letter, he returned it back with this comment. He says, "You have omitted to mention the greatest of my teachers, my mother." You know, it will do well for us if we listen and we follow the instructions and the teachings that our mother has given us. It will take us far in life. That last quality that I want to mention is that her heart loves deeply. Her heart loves deeply. Turn with me, if you will, to 1 Kings chapter 3. 1 Kings chapter 3. We're starting in verse 16. It says, "Now 2 prostitutes came to the king and stood before him. One of them said, 'Pardon me, Lord. This woman and I live in the same house, and I had a baby while she was there with me. The 3rd day after my child was born, this woman also had a baby. We were alone. There was no one in the house but the 2 of us. During the night, this woman's son died because she lay on him. So she got up in the middle of the night and took my son from my side while I, your servant, was asleep. She put him at her breast and put her dead son by my breast. The next morning, I got up to nurse my son. And as he was dead. But when I looked at him closely in the morning light, I saw that it wasn't the son I had born. The other woman said, 'No, the living one is my son. The dead one is yours.' But the first one insisted, 'No, the dead one is yours. The living one is mine.' And so they argued before the king. The king said, 'This one says, my son is alive and your son is dead. While that one says, no, your son is dead and mine is alive.' Then the king said, 'Bring me a sword.' So they brought a sword for the king. He then gave an order, 'Cut the living child in 2 and give half to one and half to the other.' The woman whose son was alive was deeply moved out of love for her son and said to the king, 'Please, my lord, give her the living baby. Don't kill him.' But the other said, 'Neither I nor you shall have him. Cut him in 2. Then the king gave this ruling, 'Give the living baby to the first woman. Do not kill him. She is his mother.'" You know, there's obviously a lot that grabs you in this story. But there's one thing that's very clear in this story, is that we get a great example and an illustration of the heart of a mom who loves deeply. A heart of a mom who loves her child deeply. That's how mothers are. They have a heart that loves deeply. There was a teenager who didn't want to be seen in public with her mother because her mother's arms were terribly disfigured. One day when her mother took her shopping and reached out her hand, a clerk looked horrified. Later, crying, the girl told her mother how embarrassed she was. Understandably hurt, the mother waited an hour before going to her daughter's room to tell her for the first time what happened. "When you were a baby, I woke up to a burning house. Your room was an inferno. Flames were everywhere. I could have gotten out of the front door, but I decided I would rather die with you than leave you to die alone. I ran through the fire and wrapped my arms around you. Then I went back through the flames, my arms on fire. When I got outside on the lawn, the pain was agonizing, but when I looked at you, all I could do was rejoice that the flames had not touched you. Stunned, the girl looked at her mother through new eyes. Weeping in shame and gratitude, she kissed her mother's marred hands and arms. You know, sometimes it's very hard for us to appreciate how much our moms deeply love us because we don't always understand all that they have gone through in order to take care of us. When we think about the heart of a mom and how they love deeply, then we can be grateful when we don't understand some of the things that go on, because they may have gone through some things that we don't even know about. So appreciate your mom and know that she loves you. I want to close this morning with a song by Shirley Caesar that I want you to listen to. It's a song that I first heard when I was a little boy, and this song stuck with me to this day. It's a song that some of you may know, and it's called No Charge. Penny, will you play this, please?
My sister's little boy came into the kitchen one evening while she was fixing supper, and he handed her a piece of paper that he had been writing on. And after wiping her hands on her apron, she took the letter in her hands and she read it. And this is what it said. For mowing the yard, $5. And for making up my own bed this week, $1. For going to the store, 50 cents. And playing with little brother while you went shopping, 25 cents. Taking out the trash, $1. And for getting a good report card, $5. And for raking the yard, $2. Total owed $14.75. Well, she looked at him standing there expecting, and 1,000 memories began to flash through her mind. So she picked up the pen and she turned the letter over. And this is what she wrote to that little boy. For the 9 months I carried you, growing inside me, no charge. For the nights I sat up with you, doctor, you prayed for you, no charge. For the time and the tears and the cost through the years, there is no charge. When you add it all up, the real cost of my love is no charge. For the nights filled with dread and the worries ahead, no charge. For advice and the knowledge and the cost of your college, no charge. For the toys, food and clothes and for wiping your nose, there's no charge, my son. When you add it all up, the real cost of my love is no charge. After that mom finished talking to the little boy, he looked up at her with great big old tears in his eyes and he said, Mama, I sure do love you. And then he reached out and he got the letter and he turned it over and he wrote in great big words, paid in full. When you add it all up, the real cost of my love is no charge.
I'm going to ask the chorus if they would go ahead and make their way up. You know, as we celebrate moms today, I want us to always remember these three qualities that we just talked about. Her hands work hard. Her mouth speaks with wisdom. And her heart loves deeply. Let me have all the brothers, if you would, please stand. All the men, would you all stand, please? Let's honor our moms and the women here today. Happy Mother's Day.
Amen. Remain standing, please.